Hello, I just wanted to do a really quick review of a book I'm reading at the moment. It's not a running book, but I think it's really useful for runners. And it's called Discipline is Destiny, and it's by Ryan Holiday. You might have heard of him. He does a lot of writing and videos around the Stoic philosophy, which if you don't know much about, basically Stoic philosophers, you hear about people being stoic. It is that sort of pragmatic way of looking at living your life, which really resonates with me, and I think really resonates for me for when people are trying to progress with their running, because people are always talking about motivation, and motivation is important, but I think actually discipline is as important, more important really, because as a fuel, discipline will go further. Motivation is like a short burst, so if motivation was a fuel, it would, one, only turn up at certain points, and if it did, it would only take you so far, where discipline will take you further. The problem is that discipline is a harder fuel to find, so to speak. And I find that this book is a great book. If you want to kind of look at discipline and be inspired to be more disciplined in a kind of pragmatic way, because yet again, I'm not a fan of books that kind of almost just rev you up, because it's a bit like having a high. You know, you get a high and then if you think of it like a height, you're so high that then you're like, there's so far to fall down. I prefer books if they are either they're going to be instructional, or if they have a motivational fact, they have a practicality to them. And I think being based in and around the Stoic philosophy, it really helps as a book. And to give you an idea of the kind of things, the chapters, it's like, for instance, you apply this to running, you're ruling over your body, attack the dawn, obviously getting up early. And the thing is, why I love this book, and I think a lot of runners will get a lot from it, is also, I often say to the people I coach, is that when you're not running is also training. So doing lots of little hard things, 1%ers. So for instance, I don't know, having 20 seconds cold spritz when you're in the shower. In itself, it's a small thing, but the mental process you have to go through to do it is not. Because the moment you say you're going to turn that dial down to cold in a hot shower, because your brain is wired for ease and comfort, your brain goes, no, don't do that, Lee, don't do that. And so if you're doing many things like this throughout your day, your week, your year, you're building up that mental strength. And by building up that mental strength, obviously you stand a much better chance in training of being more consistent. And if you're more consistent, then you are going to get predominantly better results. So I just love this book. I think it's a great book. And as I say, there's like other chapters. What was the one I like? Hustle, slow down. Now, it reminds me just to say what I don't like so much, what I find frustrating. And this is where, with the Stoic philosophy, it comes up a lot, is because it is based on life, there's lots of areas of grey. So for example, it says one chapter about hustle, get out there and do stuff. But in the next chapter it says slow down to go faster. Now, reading those two chapters side by side, you're kind of thinking, well, isn't it contradicting itself? But it's not really, it's also talking, which is something else I'm a huge fan of, is being adaptable. Everything has its place. Almost anything in life, even some of the things we don't like, for instance, violence, in a certain scenario is the appropriate action, thankfully, very rarely. So the Stoic philosophy, being a pragmatic thing, is like saying to you, well, like, yeah, sometimes you've got to go hustle, you've got to get in there, do the work. If you apply that to running, get the training done. But then, it says slow down, go faster. Sometimes if you're overtraining, the thing is to take a rest day. So when you say it like that, it doesn't sound so paradoxical. But sometimes when you read it in the book, it can seem a bit paradoxical. It can seem a bit, haven't you just said? But when you apply it from the point of view of like a manual to be more disciplined, but it's like a toolbox, and then you pick out the tool you need at that point, that teaches you or kind of enables you to become more adaptable. And I think for most runners, if they relied less on motivation and more on creating a kind of inner game mentally, one of more of discipline, and creating those little 1%ers throughout their day that create a little bit of challenge. So one of this about getting up earlier in the day. Even if you decide that you're going to get up 10 minutes earlier than you do, it goes back to the shower analogy example. That in itself, 10 minutes isn't going to make a huge difference to your sleep. But the mental process that you have to do to get to that is massive. And when you're faced with challenges in your running or in your, the latter stages of a race, those little 1%ers make up. And that is how, in my opinion, discipline is grown. And this book, I think, in a very simplistic and readable way, really outlines discipline really well. And though it isn't a running book, I would highly recommend it if you're interested in creating more discipline in your life and getting more consistency from your running, because I think it could be really helpful. Anyway, just thought I'd share this with you. Bye for now.